Hi honeybees, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a mid-year wrap-up, aka my top 10 books for this year. These are in no specific order, so let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, starting off we have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Now this book, I have to tell you, is one of my favorite books. I swear this is going to be, at the end of the year, this is still going to be one of my top 10 because this book was so good. Like, I have to tell you, Lucy writes an amazing Grumpy Egg Sunshine book, and this was one of those. Like, it was such an amazing book. I love the small town, I love the found family that we have in here, I love how close everyone is with one another. It's just so beautiful. And another thing I really loved about this book is that ዄî was one of the characters I could really relate to. I guess you can say she was someone like me when I was a child, and she just reminds me of myself. Another thing I guess you could say I really loved was Noct and Naomi's freaking banter. It was so cute, it was so funny, it was just like, it was the funniest thing ever. Like, I cannot tell you, like, literally the first 2 pages I was already cracking up. So this was just one of those books I really loved, and I have to tell you that this will probably be my top book for the whole year, but I don't know yet. I'm gonna see what else I read and see what else knocks me out the water, but this one right now is just one of those books that have left an impression on me, and it's just something I don't not think about every single day. So like, I haven't stopped thinking about this book since the day I read it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the Knock Me Out series. Next on this list I have The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Guys, this book tore me to pieces. I cannot explain to you how much this book hit home for me. Like, it just really hit deep, and especially as somebody who has been in that situation, I guess you could say, it just is really hard to read about, and then to have somebody else's experience, it's kind of great to relate to, so that you know you're not alone in those situations. So this was just one of those books for me. It was an amazing read. I loved it so much with all of my heart, and I have to say that this was just so beautifully written. I cannot explain how much I love this. I cannot explain to you how much Eden is just such a strong person, young woman, and the way she grew out of this whole situation. It was just such a powerful book, and I just have to say it was a really beautiful book. So it's definitely on my top 10, but we'll see what happens later on this year, see if anybody knocks this out, but hopefully not, okay, because it's just that good of a book. Another book I also cried my eyes out to for no good reason was When True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is one of my favorite authors. I've only read one other book by her, but this book just hurt my feelings. I don't know what it was about this book that just made me keep crying, but I think it was the part where like loss came in and I was just like bawling out. Like, some of the quotes in here just had me hurt. I don't know what it was. It definitely is one of those great books, and I have to say the writing is beautiful. The way she talks about like somebody passing is beautiful. This book just gave everything it was supposed to, and of course I expected nothing less from Taylor because she writes beautiful books, and I can't wait to read more of her books. Like, she is just such an amazing author, and this book was just so good. And of course I gave this a 5 stars, so like, it's just this book, it hurt my feelings, but I really loved it, and I definitely recommend it. But I know this isn't a recommendation video, but if you're looking for a good cry, this one is one of them, and I just have to say, beautiful. I can't explain how much this was just wow. Next book I have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. And guys, I'm telling you right now, just looking at this book, I was like reminded immediately how funny this book was. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love this book. You could honestly read this in one sitting if you wanted to, but I didn't. But this was that fast paced, it was quick, it was easy, and you could get through it. There wasn't too much going on. It was definitely a beautiful book. Hazel's personality is one thing I really love. She is just amazing. Like, I've never seen somebody way out of the ordinary like her, and she's just different, and that was an amazing thing about this book. I love how she accepted who she was and not like feeling ashamed of it. And then there's Josh. He's more on the chill side. He's not that loud, or you know, he's not shy or anything. He's just a chill person. He likes his peace, you know what I'm saying? And he's just like a cool guy, and they've known each other since college, but then they meet each other again later on in life. So this is definitely one of those books where opposites attract. So this was an amazing read. It was definitely fun. The banter was amazing, and I just have to say I really love this. All right, the next book I have is surprisingly If We Were Villains by M.L Rio. Now, I didn't think I was gonna like this book at all when I picked this up. I honestly got it because of the quotes I've seen online, and it was just one of those books that just had a whole bunch of amazing quotes in there, and I was like, I'm gonna get this book. I did read it myself a little bit, and then most of it was audiobook because I really couldn't understand half of the stuff that was going on without it being read out loud to me. So this is more like a Shakespearean type book, so there's like Shakespeare words and all of that good stuff, so you get to see all of that good old Roman or old English time type of writing. So it's definitely a beautifully written book. I have to say that I have nothing against Shakespeare. This was one of those books that made me like Shakespeare even more. I don't know why, but this book was just so good, and it hurt my feelings just a little bit, but there was also some LGBT representation in here as well. I didn't know that until maybe halfway through, I guess you can say, but you would just have to read it to find out. But I also felt it throughout the reading of this, I guess you can say. But it was such a great book. Definitely a beautifully written one. I just have so much to say about this book, but I can't put it into words. That's how good this book was, but it was beautifully written, and I just have to say that this was one good book, and I want to find some more writing of M.L Rio's just because how beautiful this was written. So yeah, great book. On to another book that hurt my feelings as well is The Way Back Home by Courtney Peppernell. This book was good. It was short but sweet. It's a poetry book, so it has different poetry. I really would have to say this is kind of like a book that goes the 6 stages of grief, but it doesn't say the 6 stages of grief, you know what I'm saying? Since this book was written during COVID, there was a lot to relate to, obviously, and because we all went through COVID and we all had to be in the house, or we all either lost loved ones, or we either had to stay away from them, or we disconnected from people, and this is where the TikTok life came in, so we disconnected from the world. So this was just one of those books that you could definitely relate to. Anybody can, so it did hurt my feelings a little bit. I lost somebody to COVID, so this book hit home for me really hard, and it was definitely a beautiful book, and I really love it. Next up on this list, we have When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This was also a great book. I read this in February or March, one or the other, but this was a good book. I really liked this one. One of the things I loved the most about this book was the Black representation in here. It had the Black history of New York and Brooklyn. No, I've never lived in New York, but I am Black, so there is always a great chance to learn about your history. And this book had a little bit of that in there, so it was definitely a great book, and it wasn't bad at all, but it just wasn't my taste. But it's still a great book, so that's why it's still on my top 10 of this year so far. Next up on this list, of course, I could not have a year without Lauren Asher right now. So I have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is in the Dreamland Billionaire series. This is the first book, and I have to tell you, she is already on the list of favorite authors so far. She is an amazing writer, and I love how diverse her characters are. There is flaws within these characters. They have bad trauma or something that happened to them, and I can't say that's oh my god, that's a good thing, but it's something that's really great that is written about, because everybody has flaws, so it makes them more humanly to read about. And it's definitely something I really like about this, is that you don't feel disconnected from the characters because they're so rich. You know that he's rich, but he also has things going on in his past. Then there's Zara, and she had things that happened to her in her past. So this was definitely one of those books. It was definitely beautiful. I cannot explain to you how much I love the banter. I think you can tell by now I love banter. It's one of my favorite things in books, and this had a little bit of that, and it had enough spice for you to get through the day, and it definitely had a lot of romance. So it's definitely a great book, and it's definitely on my top 10. I'm pretty sure it'll make it to the top 10 of this year, but we'll see what happens. But definitely a great book. All right, next up we have The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, aka Modao Zushi, by Mojang Shu. And I really love this series. This series, I know you heard me talk about this so many times, but y'all, I cannot explain to you how much this series means to me, how much I love this series. And of course, this is going to be in a wrap up soon, so I'm not going to say too much but just know it's already one of the books that's on my top 10 this year. And last but not least, I have I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Baek. This is a autobiography by Baek, and she's basically having conversations with her therapist. So it's a conversational book between her and her therapist, and she also writes little monologues between each therapy session to like talk about each of the problems she has, and then like talks about how she felt between each of those and before she goes back to her therapist. So it's definitely a great book. It's definitely one of those books that tell you are not alone, you're not the only one who feels like this. And I definitely love books like that. Like, these books really hit home for me. Anything that's about like anything mental health related or physical health related, I guess you could say, it's just something that hits for me. I like reading about stuff like this because there's a lot of things that we all go through, and it's always great to feel like you're not alone. So definitely a great book, and I definitely enjoyed this, and it was another one that really was relatable for me. So that's why it's another one on my top 10. Alright, honeybees, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. And if you did, please don't forget to comment the blue heart emoji just because there's new emojis. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time I post a new video. And remember to be true and be you. And I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!